Guys, Halloween is over, which means it is officially time to start thinking about my favorite thing in the whole world, which is things that you should ask for Christmas if you celebrate Christmas or if you give presents just during the end of the season year for any reason whatsoever. So I'm here with like a holiday guide for artists based on just my own experiences, things that I recommend you should ask for Christmas in no specific order. I have a list. Again, in no particular order, we're just going to jump right into like paint sets. Little disclaimer, this is just for people who are either shopping for themselves or if they know the artist very, very well. If you don't know the artist, don't buy them art supplies. Just get them a gift card to some sort of retailer that sells art supplies, or else you could get in trouble. But for everybody else, we're going to get, like I said, started into paint sets. So the first thing that I have is the Nicker Poster Color paint set. These are in tubes. They also come in little tubs. Now, Nicker, if you aren't aware, they are famous for being the brand that Studio Ghibli likes to use in namely their artwork and in their like backdrops. So this is a cool little like bragging set to have. If you have a nerd in your family who likes things like Studio Ghibli, they might die to have this. I have tried to use these paints and I may need to try them again sometime in the future. I was not a fan of the texture of these, but again, it's kind of just the novelty of having them and just being like a cool bragging thing to have. The next things that I have are like just groups of pastel watercolor sets. I love collecting any sort of pastel set whatsoever, so that's a lot of what I'm going to recommend. But I have here, y'all have probably definitely seen this one. It's the Prima Marketing Vintage Pastel Set. I actually have this in my main watercolor set because I use it all the time, so all the little pots are out of here. But I just really enjoy this palette. I enjoy the chalkiness of it. I enjoy the color palette, how it definitely looks vintagey. I just think this is a beautiful set, and this is available at a lot of in-person retailers. It's available online and it's affordable. But this is really just for convenience. These aren't really colors that you can mix. So if you're a beginner watercolorist and you really need maybe like a basic set, this isn't for you. This is really just for fun, and all of the pastel sets really are just for fun, something to add to your collection. So this is one of my favorites. And then next I have the Schmincke Academy watercolors, and this is again the pastel set, and look how pretty the box is. Now I have of course squeezed the tubes, so mine are a little bit wonky, not as pristine as they used to be. But this is just a beautiful watercolor set. I do have the smaller macaron set as well, but I don't like it as much as I like these colors. The tube colors in this particular set are very, very nice. I had to order this, I believe, from Germany, but I think it is available now in the United States, which is where I'm based. When I got this, it was pretty pricey, but I don't think it's as expensive as your more traditional Schmincke colors. So this is a fun, again, just convenient set to have in your collection. And then another pastel tube set is the Shinhan. I love the Shinhan company. I trust anything by them. They're just very, again, pricey. This is my favorite watercolor tube set of all time. I love all of these. I just love the quality of them. All of the colors are beautiful. This again is in my primary watercolor set, and I use a bulk of these colors all the time. I highly recommend this set. You can get it either in the full 12, or I think it comes separated into smaller sets as well. Pastel watercolor set, beautiful. Highly, highly recommend. Now again, I am a huge pastel person, so I collect anything that is pastel. I've got another pastel set here. This is the Sui gouache. I got this off of Amazon as well. At the time, I think it was about $46. It might still be the same, but this is a lovely gouache set of pastel colors. It's vintage pastel, similar to the Prima Marketing Vintage Pastel watercolor set. This one's very kind of springy. My tubes are all disheveled. They're all over the place because I've used this so much. But just look at the little swatch guide. Like, it's very Eastery. And they're great quality. I have used these all the time. I've had this tube set for maybe 2 years now. I still have plenty of paint left, and the paints still look beautiful. If you wanted to add to this collection, Sui does have additional pastel tubes that you can buy separately of different colors as well. They've got like a peach and like another dark green, beige. This one's white. But you can add to your set and have more if you liked it that much. I don't know much about this company. I think it's from Korea, but just the entire thing is aesthetic. It's beautiful. I think it is definitely something to add again to somebody's collection. Continuing on with watercolors. Again, this is in no particular order. I have Holbein watercolors. Actually, we're going to talk about Holbein again here in just a minute. But I have 2 different Holbein watercolor sets. This one is yet another pastel watercolor set. And this is as well one of my primary dominant watercolor sets. Everything by Holbein is beautiful. They have gorgeous paints, gorgeous everything. This is not that expensive either, and I honestly think that I might have gotten this one off of AliExpress, but it is available elsewhere as well. Highly recommend yet another pastel set. But Holbein also makes these cute little specialty anime sets. This was actually the first Holbein set that I got. So I have some duplicate colors in here. It just has phenomenal box art, and they have other ones as well that have other colors on the inside. But I highly recommend Holbein watercolors, and a little bit of paint goes a long way with these. These sets will last you forever. But sticking with Holbein, their colored pencils are great as well. So this tin right here is empty, and recently I bought the 50-piece set. But I have long since taken these pencils out of the case. Let me see if I can find a Holbein colored pencil. So I have these in my just regular colored pencil. I use these ones all the time. The beautiful thing about Holbein colors is like everything meshes together. If you use Holbein watercolor and then you use colored pencils, the colors match perfectly. And it's the same thing for the acrylic gouache. If you use lilac and acrylic gouache, you use lilac in the watercolor, you use a lilac pencil, they're all going to color match perfectly. It is wonderful for like a mixed media artist like myself if you're trying to fix an error, do some sort of color correction, or just add finishing touches. Everything mixes together and they're all just beautiful. And these colored pencils are so buttery smooth. But then again, I'm also not a primary colored pencil artist, so people who do use just colored pencils may have a different opinion on these, but I love these colored pencils. But speaking of acrylic gouache, what makes a good present as well, you can buy acrylic gouache in all sorts of different types of sets, but the Rebecca Green set by Holbein, it just, again, look at this box art. Look how pretty this is. And I just like the idea of supporting another online artist. Rebecca Green worked with them, of course, to create her own set that she would personally use. And at first I wasn't going to buy this set, but I ended up talking myself into it again because I like to support other artists. But I wasn't sure if these colors were necessarily for me because, again, I go after pastel everything. But I actually really enjoy this set, in particular the blues. I have had to go back and buy Smalt Blue, which comes in this set several times. It is the world's most perfect blue, and I just like to have this on display. It looks pretty everywhere. So I recommend all Holbein products. And then just to tack it in, if you need some sort of a white, I know you're not supposed to use white watercolor in watercolor. I do all the time, but I always keep somewhere off to the side a titanium white Holbein watercolor or gouache because it just makes for the perfect white. So everybody's always looking for the perfect white. I do recommend the titanium white watercolor. It's very pigmented. It does show up on different colored papers. Okay, so we got one more, I think, watercolor thing, and then we'll be done with watercolors. Now this is definitely a specialty set. This is a watercolor set. It's a Japanese, kind of in that Gansai Tambi style. I'm not really sure which company it is that makes this, but I think it's part of the Gansai Tambi brand. I'm not really sure. I got this from Choosing Keeping, which is a London-based shop, and their shipping was super fast, but they have seasons watercolors. Again, it's just something nice to have in your collection. The box art is beautiful. It looks very aesthetic on the shelf, and the watercolors are also pretty dang good. I'm not a huge fan of the Japanese style watercolors, but I've used this set many times. The colors are beautiful. I got these because they're reminiscent of pastel colors. Have had this again for well over, it might have been 2 years now, I'm not sure, and I still have lots of paint left. So just something fun. They have different types of watercolor sets as well. This is the spring set. They've got winter, they've got summer. They even have like decades, so you could get 70s, I think it's 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s. So it just kind of shows like the decades of Japan culture in color. So again, just something nice to think about to add to your collection if you're willing to purchase from overseas. I think it's fun. Okay, next we're going to go back to the acrylic gouache. So Holbein, I am a big fan of the Holbein acrylic gouache, and I own quite a lot of these. But there is another brand out there that also makes acrylic gouache, and they go by the name of Turner. You've probably seen Turner before, but Turner makes good acrylic gouache also. It's less expensive than Holbein, but the quality is pretty much the same. There's a bit of like a viscosity difference to them, but they also have a couple of fun sets that I think make for some fun Christmas presents. So this is the first thing by Turner that I ever got. This is the first acrylic gouache set that I actually ever got as well. And it was very affordable. I got this one, I probably actually got this one off of AliExpress several years ago also, but this was available on either Jerry's or Blick as well. But it gives you 12 tubes of paint. Yeah, it gives you 12 tubes of paint. Mine has long since been dispersed out of the box. I like to keep the boxes because I'm a hoarder like that. It gives you 12 tubes of 11 ml paint. Here's one of mine that I can easily find. But this is like a primary set. This is a mixing set. So if you have somebody who's new to acrylic gouache, wants cute box art, wants something that looks nice on the shelf, but also wants to be able to paint an infinite amount and mix an infinite amount of colors, then this is the set for you. I highly recommend this. Look how pretty it is. And then secondly, this is definitely just something for a collector, something for fun. I got this off of a Canadian website, the Above Ground's Art Supply. It's from Canada. I haven't seen it anywhere else. And in fact, I don't even know how I found this on the website, because like when you scroll through the website, it's not exactly displayed. You kind of have to search for it, and I accidentally came across it. But this is an anime-based set. It's a collab with Evangelion and Turner, and it's the Ayanami Blue, which this is something from my childhood too. When I was a kid in the 90s, Evangelion was a huge deal. I'm not even a big anime person. I just like the idea of it. It's such a cool set to have in your collection. It comes with 3 large tubes. And this one's a pearl acrylic gouache. This one's a gel medium. I'm honestly not even sure how to use the gel medium, because the only one that I have used out of this set is this one. And this one is just acrylic gouache. It says Ayanami, but you know, Ray, Ayanami Blue. It's her color. She's on the back. It's just very pretty. This paint is very chalky though, so it leaves chalky streaks behind. But it's just something fun, again, to have on your shelf if you're a collector. You don't know what to ask for. And Turner also, of course, they do have pastel sets. Their pastel acrylic gouache is pretty. And then they have the Japanesque color sets as well, which are also fun to have in your collection. So Holbein and Turner acrylic gouache, if you guys don't own those, makes for a good present all around. All right, next, this is going to be a blast from the past. If you have a beginner artist in your family, or you yourself are a beginner, you don't want to spend a lot of money on paint, there's nothing wrong with the traditional Miyahime jelly gouache set. I got a lot of use out of this gouache set. I'm actually honestly surprised that I still have this. I'm afraid to open it. I'm afraid it might be a little bit moldy. It definitely sounds like it's dried out. Oh no, yeah, no mold. I haven't opened this thing in years. When I first started painting again after my hiatus, because I left the internet for a good 5 years after I got married, I stopped doing art. The Miyahime gouache set is what got me back into art, and I started all over again as a traditional artist. I used to just do digital art only. This is the first paint set that I ever bought, and I got my use out of this thing. This is perfect for that person who doesn't really know what they're doing, but they want to play around. It's good quality paint. Mine, I've heard of other people say recently that their sets smelled really bad. Mine never had a funky smell. This is the 18 color one. It came with a little mixing tray. And you know what? It's still a good set. It is cute, it's aesthetic, and it does the job. And it's just good. If you have a kid or a beginner in your life, you know, this is a good present. I still recommend this to this day. Couple small things. I have shown these many times in many other videos, but the Faber Castell Pitt artist pens, I use these all the time for line art. These are still my favorite ink pens. I like purchasing other ink pens too, but I always go back to these ones. And these go really well with the Caran watercolor, the Museum Aquarelle pencils. Again, I use these in combination together. I use these ink pens to activate the watercolor in these colored pencils, and I love these. These are beautiful pencils. Acrylic paint markers. There's so many of these on the market these days. If you have not yet experienced the glory of the Posca marker, or even I have the molotow markers as well. These ones are prettier, I think. These ones are more aesthetic, but the Posca is more reliable. But I have others, and there are other types of acrylic paint markers on the market that you can buy, that you can test out, that I'm kind of interested in buying as well. But if you haven't tried out acrylic paint markers, check them out. They're a lot of fun. So another thing that I highly recommend, if you've seen any of my videos, you know that I like to use tan watercolor paper. I do encourage people to try a different color for their watercolor other than just plain white paper. But in particular, this is the Hana Mule. I'm American, forgive my accent. The tan watercolor journal. The only thing that I wish with this journal, I wish that it came in like a 9x11 format. I finished this journal ages ago. Most of these artworks are uploaded online. But it's just beautiful paper. It takes torture really well. It handles heavy-duty acrylic gouache. It handles watercolor. It's vaguely thin paper, but it is tough. This is my absolute favorite watercolor paper. It just doesn't come in a big enough size. I like having bound journals. This does come in like a smaller, like 5x5 square as well, but this one's the largest that the bound journals come in. But it also does come in the loose leaf pads of paper. So please, Hanamule, please make a bigger journal for somebody like me. And then lastly, alcohol markers. We're going to talk about alcohol markers. If you haven't gotten on board with the Copic train, I think Copic still counts as the most reputable brand of alcohol marker on the market. I've tried many, many different types of alcohol brands. I do enjoy a good Copic marker, but they are very pricey. But Copics make for good gifts. If you know that somebody already has a batch of colors and you know that they're missing some, you can buy these in little bitty like gift sets. They come in like packages of 3, come in packages of 6, different color sets, and it's just a fun gift idea. They also come in, if you can find them, I ordered these from Japan themselves, but this is, I don't know if you can see, has Sebastian the Crab from The Little Mermaid on there. Copic does collaborations with Disney and other brands as well. So I have a set of, I think it was 6 of The Little Mermaid, but they also have a Mickey Mouse Copic marker set as well. And it's just something that's just nifty. It's something fun to have in your collection, and it's a good brand of marker. However, if you can't afford this is too pricey. Again, maybe you have a beginner artist or you just don't want to waste money if you're the beginner, and that's fine. There are alternatives. The Ohuhu marker, again, this is probably the second most reputable brand, most well known, and I think for good reason. I have always had a good experience with Ohuhu marker. If you are going to get something that's not a Copic marker though, make sure that you are looking for a brand that has a brush tip. Having the brush tip does make all of the difference. I'm not saying you can't create good art with a bullet nib either, but get the most out of your money. I highly recommend the brush tip. Ohuhu, of course, you can get like sets of 325 or something like that for about $100. It's probably a little bit more than that, but it's much more affordable than like a set of 72 for like $400 or whatever Copic prices theirs at. I think this is really cool too. So Ohuhu makes their own alcohol marker journal, and look at this chunker. Lots of pages in here, and it comes with a page protector in case your marker bleeds through, you don't damage the page underneath. But this paper is, again, it's very high quality paper. It handles markers really well. I've gotten through about halfway through this one. I've had it for several years and it's held up super nicely. And they do make this in spiral bound, and I believe they have loose leaf paper as well. Copic has loose leaf paper also, but this one, I think, just the journal in combination with a set of markers, it's a great Christmas present. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. Other honorable mentions, you can never have enough kneaded erasers. Every artist needs one of those. Pencil sharpeners, everybody needs one of those and they never want to pay for them. Prismacolor, the colerase pencils. I always encourage people to use the colored lead colored pencils instead of regular graphite. There's nothing wrong with using regular graphite, but having a colored lead can really just change the dynamic of your image. Give it a try. Makes for a good stocking stuffer. Your traditional white jelly roll, and then of course just Prismacolor color pencils. They're available at every shop. They're still a good quality colored pencil, even if they're no longer considered fancy. But I think that's it, right? I think I've won everything that I can think of for right now, for this list at least. But if anything sounded inspirational to you, or if you're interested in taking a closer look at anything else, let me know. But that's it for this Christmas list for right now, and we'll see if we can do my Christmas wish list in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.